Men of Reddit, what are some immediate red flags in men that women should look out for? Pretty much anything you look at and think, I can fix him. Or relatedly, but he won't do that with / to me. No you can't, and yes he will. If a guy tells you he's no good, listen. Should've ran when mine said I'm not like other guys, I'm worse. Holes in the drywall. Run. In my defense, the hole came from leaning on it. Pushing small boundaries that aren't a big deal. Then, once called out on it, backpedaling, apologizing for it and then doing it again. My old boss and current supervisor. Yeah, I find it fascinating that an abusive relationship with a boss can be very similar to an abusive relationship with a partner. In the end, they're both relationships. Anger management issues. Holes in drywall, being in fights despite never looking for them or even toad rage. This is a red flag on its own, but it gets worse when getting defensive about it. Oh, I got mad when X, Y, Z happened, but I didn't hurt anyone is a half step away from I hit person when X, Y, Z happened. Someone so easily angered has all the ability in the world to be physically abusive. We've seen this as early as high school, and these are the a-holes who never grow up and face the unfair acts of the world with a plan. They simply react and never advance, they move along or worse, regress. These are also the first ones to gaslight anyone in an embarrassing situation. These types are always right and everyone else is wrong. But I have a great sense of humor. Inability to compromise. Huge. The sole reason for my divorce. People ask all the time why if we seem so great together we broke up decade marriage. It became impossible to live and be with him. His way or no way. I can't live like that. Try to find a less common one. For people looking for a long-term partner, beware when someone complains about everything and is seemingly the victim in every situation. This is the type of person that will very quickly blame you if anything goes wrong, and is likely S-ing on you to other people already. Secondly, it means you will be perpetually drained by the negativity over the long haul. Keep an eye out for insincere apologies. I'm sorry you feel that way or something similar is not an apology. Suddenly flying off the handle at a minor inconvenience. It's one thing to stub your toe at the end of a bad day and give the table a whack. It's another if every moment of stress or misfortune triggers rage. I was dating a girl and forgot to lock her car door when we got out to go into a Walgreens for some snacks. She absolutely lost it. Like screaming and crying. For about 20 minutes. I just sat. Silently took it and then asked to meet her the next day and broke up with her because I was not comfortable with that explosion over anything. Especially a mistake that I could have easily just started paying more attention to. If he doesn't respect your boundaries. If he doesn't respect consent. If he makes you feel any less of a person than you feel when you're not around him. If it looks, smells, and waves in the wind like a effing red flag, treat it as such. It's not worth the risk. Only talks about themselves. Hi, what's your name? Bob. Great. But that's enough about you, Bruce. Let's talk about me. Avoid people who are very polite and charming when they want something from those above them, but are arrogant and demanding when they think they can take something from those below them. People who smile up and kick down are the worst. Emotional manipulation, trying to guilt trap you. To give an example, I was hearing from a friend who's a woman currently dating, telling you that you're being jealous, when they're intentionally creating situations which would cause that. This guy in particular was continually describing past experiences with girls and how aspects of that were better than what my friend had with him currently. That example also falls into trying to damage and hurt your self-esteem and break down your self-worth so you rely on them for validation. A very toxic trait. Can't take no as an answer. Acting as if effing the whole world is an achievement. If he talks about his ex too much. As someone who was in love with an ex for way too long, I was not ready for a relationship with anyone else. Some red flags are not signs the person is malicious, sometimes they are signs they are not ready for a new relationship. Sexual pressure after you directly reject an advance. Healthy people with your interests in mind only need to hear no one time and are respectful of boundaries if they bring it up again in the future. Refusing to admit that they could possibly be wrong. I have seen many men get super frustrated and aggressive over the idea that they could be possibly wrong about something. To add on to this, many of these same men, when presented with the proof of them being wrong, they will either deflect or make it seem like it doesn't matter and that you were making such a big deal about this. We are all humans and we all make mistakes. I feel for many of these men, they feel stupid and less manly if they are wrong about something. Being able to accept your mistakes and move on is a healthy trait. This is one most women learn themselves around high school, but still worth mentioning now. If he's an asshole to everyone but you, that doesn't mean he thinks you're special. It means he is in a hole but knows how to not be in a hole in order to get laid. Going on and on about themselves. Arrogance is such a turn-off. This is a good one. If a guy will not shut up about himself and never asks you anything, then you're never more than a side character in his front stage show about himself. You're not his equal. If his first reaction to any type of minor conflict is anger, here, when I mean conflicts, I mean little things, disagreeing with a fact stated, where to have dinner, minor customer service issues. If the first tool they reach for is anger for minor things, that is the tool they will always reach for first. People change, but this is a pretty fundamental personality aspect and unlikely outside of intervention. Inability to say sorry when they do something wrong. If he's cheating on someone else with you, he will absolutely cheat on you with someone else. When a man leaves his wife and marries his mistress, it creates a job opening. All of their ex-partners are crazy. How does he speak about others? Especially past loves? Especially ones that went wrong. If he dated 23 crazy BS, you're gonna be number 24. What's his lifestyle? If it's bars and clubs every single week, sometimes multiple times a week, don't expect stability. How does he manage communication when frustrated? Is he lashing out at you with blame and anger? That's gonna come out often and accelerate as time goes on. And this one is for everyone. The beginning of any relationship is the easiest it will ever be. If it's a rocky start, is more than likely gonna be a rocky ride. Inability to clean up after themselves or do common household tasks. I've tried telling my brother's girlfriend that he's basically completely incapable of taking care of himself, but she keeps believing his "well, I work nights and I don't want to wake anyone up" BS. Well, you warned her if she stays with him she can't ever say nobody warned her when she's raising the man-child. Alcoholism. Oh my god, yes. We joked that we were alcoholics. Except he wasn't joking. 2 years sober as of today. Still together, but holy hell, what a ride. A man that blames everyone else for his problems, lack of job, lack of friends, money, etc. Someone that is unwilling to take personal responsibility for improving his situation in life. Being mean to animals. If they're not an animal person, that's fine. But there's a difference between not liking them and being mean to them. Tell you what to do, how you should think, who you should see, what you should eat or we. Don't try to save or change them. If they are a-holes, abusive, and are addicts, walk away. It may suck, but walk away. Your mental, emotional, and physical health will greatly thank you. If he wants to be with you, then he will be with you. Trust his actions, not his words. Amazes me how many women let themselves get dragged along like this, not realizing they are one of many he is leading on. You might think you're special, but if a guy isn't committing to you, it's because he doesn't want to and is likely pursuing other options. Watch out for the individual who is always looking for what you can do for them but are rarely inspired to go out of their way to do something for others. People like this, in my experience, seldom consider the fact that other people have feelings, wants, and desires of their own. Never talks to you about yourself, never takes an interest in your hobbies, what you've been up to, etc. Actually scarily common in guys. It's probably the most common symptom of being self-centered AF. And yeah, someone can be like this and still be nice to you, but they don't necessarily value you. That how he treats people in service industry. I couldn't exactly explain due to English being not my native language, but let's say he treats waiters like an asshole, orders him/her around like they are beneath him. This is a clear red flag. You could not really find better example of his lack of character. Agreed, and your English is totally fine. Does he talk about always being ready to fight if necessary? Then he's a lunatic. Well-adjusted people in things like MMA don't want to fight randomly and don't seek it out outside of the sport of it. Half the point is to have a place for your aggression in a controlled setting. Anyone who makes it hard for you to have friends should make you run and never turn back. Instead of just being nice, having to refer to self as nice and better than other guys. That just proves you're hateful inside and think less of those around you. Saying I'm the nicest guy you'll ever meet is like saying I have a huge CK. The more you say it, the less likely it is to be true. Manipulators. Men that use emotions, anger, sadness, etc., to get you to do things you don't want to do. The worst ones are subtle ones, they chip away at you over time. Gets angry when confronted for something they did or didn't do. Can't admit faults. Guys who made a big deal about stupid things. Had a friend who had to go home early from our house where she was having fun, because the meatballs she'd made weren't the right size, they were too big. Her husband was coming home and he wanted that meatball issue addressed promptly. Cut your meatballs, you dips. When he is just a collection of squirrels in a trench coat. At least this way you'll definitely get a nut. Needing to tell someone no more than once about anything always sets alarm bells off in my head. Your boundaries are valid and don't let anyone convince you otherwise. If he tests your defined comforts or boundaries even once, end it then and there. Continuing isn't worth it. Just read a story in a subreddit where a girl is on the spectrum. I am too, hence me being there, and she explains to her boyfriend that sudden, loud noises really scare her. He then proceeds to clap as loud as he can directly in front of her face. He said he needed to really see if she was serious about what she said. Someone who does that kind of is just trying to see if your no's really mean no. And if they have to check that, then they're seeing what they can get away with in the future. A decent person would just go, oh, okay, and maybe even do their best to proactively avoid what will hurt or bother you. I've dated lots of guys where this red flag alone would have saved me long, painful relationships. And talking to them about this issue won't solve it because they know what they're doing. Even if you got them to stop testing your boundaries, all of the other negative things that come with that kind of personality won't go away. For the love of God, make sure he can function like an adult. You know, cook a few dishes, do laundry, clean up after himself, go to work on time. I cannot stand when women complain about how the man-children they start dating still being man-children years later. Big shocker. Being too nice and immediately putting you on a pedestal. You want to be two boats meeting at sea that decide to tie a rope together. The rope allows you to come together and drift apart. Immediate red flag when someone wants to ditch their boat for yours. If he claims all his exes were crazy or similar, think for a second about what was the common factor in all those relationships. Him. If you smell S everywhere you go, check your own shoes. When he believes all of his opinions are facts and will fight you on every one. From comic books to politics, if there is no flexibility to appreciate other points of view, especially ones that are completely subjective, then you'll always be walking on eggshells, and that's no way to live. If he doesn't put in an effort to make you happy, it doesn't have to make you happy whatever he does, but the fact he's putting in the effort means he truly cares about you enough that he cares about your mental health as well. Goes both ways. When he said something like, I did these all for you, you know I did these because I love you, I am the only one that is ever going to love you, I am not letting you wear certain clothes is because I care about you. If he is overtly angry when you talk to other people, specifically other men, that's a major red flag, and he's probably gonna start to be possessive over you by not letting you talk to anyone else. When he does a massive amount of self-pitying and somehow you're the only one who can fix his broken life. His lack of self-esteem, friends, a job, etc. is suddenly you and you only. No plans to fix the things for himself. The you'll leave me like everyone else guy. Not being able to take the perspective of other people. Being very close-minded and overly sure of themselves as opposed to just confident. Not having a shred of humility. Talking over you, and holding you to a much higher standard than they hold themselves, usually under the guise of helping or developing you. Getting angry if you ask them a simple task like can you please put the dishes in the washer when you're done and not leave them in the sink. This goes for both parties, but getting an attitude over a please help is a big red flag to me. Of course you also need to be putting in the effort. Some recent examples from someone I know. Spoiler, he beat the crap out of her in front of their children. He's about to go to jail and you know he did the crime. Drug addict, heroin, meth, and others, steals catalytic converters. A hole's petty crime. Demands you give up all your passwords but none of his. Makes you merge finances with him. Claims to have connections to the police, so reporting him will do nothing. There's more, but I think this is enough to understand you need to get out, no matter what you think it will cost. Something I'll be telling my daughter. Carefully observe how a man treats to his mother, father, siblings, friend, family, and even strangers, because after a while that's exactly how he'll end treating you. If a guy is telling you all the things you want to hear, be very wary, as it is likely an act. The world will not give you everything you want, and anyone who claims to be able to provide that is likely lying, and even if they're able to do so they likely won't. This is the case in all things, not just romance. Controlling tendencies. Same for women, to be honest. I work in a bar. Seen a lot of first date happening. I remember that one couple came at my bar for the first date. They played pool. The guy was showing her how to play. At first it may look cute, but he was constantly telling her how to play, where to aim on the white ball. When she missed, he was taking the white ball back, replace it until she hit the way he told her to. Every single time. My mind went, oh girl, hope you wake up because you will be in a lot of trouble. Well, sadly they end up together. They came back at my bar couple of times and boy, he treated her like crap. Guy was absolutely toxic. If you go to a bar for your date, sit at the bar. When the guy will go to the bathroom, feel free to ask us what we think. We see things that you might not. And feel free to ask for help if you feel uncomfortable or in bad situations. We will help you.